All right. Today was a kind of a back and forth practice in good and bad parts of it. I thought there were we tried to create some competitive situations, red zone, 2-minute, third downs, trying to, as we're leading into the scrimmage, really want to see guys take another step as we get the next opportunity to go out there and have to compete. And so I wanted to throughout this week just force the knowledge of and the ownership of downs and the ownership of situations where you're on the field. I thought there was good competitive response. I thought in the red zone work, the offense won that period, and I thought they did a good job. Energy, all parts of it. Came back with third downs. Thought the defense was dominant in that. Was that kind of did a middle 8 2-minute and a half situation, just kind of introducing that as we're working through spring, and your defense was able to get get a couple stops. We saw some good plays on both sides of the ball throughout the day, but it's one of those things. We find those times where maybe it's not quite the edge or not quite the attention to detail or focus that's necessary, and you got to jump into that, and you've got to correct it. You got to push, for the proper response, and understand that you don't get second chances at it. And I didn't think today was a bad practice. I thought there were moments where we have to be better, and that's where as a football team, as the guys that are pushing and desiring to be leaders within groups, we've got to answer that call, and I thought there were some examples of that today, but still want more. I thought the quarterbacks, really had a pretty good day. Today was really the first day where I thought there was a couple. I know we had 2 drops that were big play opportunities, and we got to eliminate those things that show up. But I thought the quarterbacks did a good job of managing pressure, of managing different situations, giving guys opportunities to go make plays. I thought all 3 of them had good moments throughout the course of practice. I think there's going to be a great opportunity for them to continue to grow through the back half of spring from what they've shown up to this point, and very competitive. And I see a quarterback group that's out there pushing to make people better, and so that's exciting to see. And all in all, I thought it was an overall good day. We just got to clean up some of those, say lulls, but missed opportunities throughout practice.
When you talk about looking for more, or do you mean more in terms of focus and execution, or more, or sometimes even just effort?
It's more the, it's the edge. It's not necessarily, I've talked a lot this offseason about the edge. It's the every little bit that you have and a little bit more. It's the attention to detail. Sometimes it might be the focus. It might, if you have a third and long situation, it's just the understanding, urgency, the everything, plant through your mind before you get to it, and then being ready to go, put it on display. And so, and then there's times where you might have a long drive, or where you're feeling tired, and you might not ultimately want to have to go and empty the tank one more, but you get to make the choice to. And it's just hoping guys train themselves for more, for best, for everything that they have. Even if they got to get picked up and drug off the field at the end of it, they've emptied the tank on every situation, every play. I want that. And if you see, there's you can go through a practice, you can go through situations, and you can be present, or you can put everything that you have into that moment, just like it's going to be when it's August 30th and you got a sold out Doak Campbell Stadium, and everything's on the line in the moment of truth. Are you bringing that same emotion? And if you bring that same focus, that same energy, so it's all of it. And like I said, there wasn't just one thing that stood out because it happened on both sides of the ball at different times today. And it's the ownership of the play. It's the ownership of the performance and what you're willing to give. And there's times, we talked a little bit after practice about respect. And there's a there's a respect of this program of what things need to look like and what it need to be, and we have to earn it. And we have to earn it every single day. I've got to earn our players' respect. They've got to earn the coaches' respect. Obviously we get to earn respect with how we play and what we do. And there's an appreciation for where we are and what we get to represent. So I mean, that needs to be put on display, even when you don't feel good, even when you might find yourself in a challenging circumstance. You look back and been through seasons where they're undefeated regular season championship game, and I look at that team and there's 4 times we were down 10 points. One of the times it was to an FCS opponent. But what did we do in that moment? Like, what did we do in that moment? Where do you go? And when you have guys that it doesn't matter who, what, when, where. Like it's about the response. It's about the next play. It's about that toughness that's been created and developed. That those things have to be earned, and that's what we're fighting to earn.
When you talk about the quarterbacks collectively pushing to make teammates better, to help make them better, I guess, what does that look like?
It's part of attitude, approach, preparation, making sure that whenever they have a chance to locate a ball, when they have a chance to make a decision, when you see guys extending plays, let's say, I mean, there's a couple times today where we didn't, defensively did a good job matching routes, guys covering up, receivers. Just having to extend and or try to create separation to get open. And when a quarterback does everything they can, we might have good protection, but you know what? They got to go give a little bit more. And they got to find an opportunity to create a play for this offense and putting the ball where it needs to be, and just making everybody around them better. And there's especially, and it's an ownership, and that's one of the things that we challenge the quarterbacks with, is that that they're going to make mistakes too. And when you can stand in front of a group, you can stand whether it's another position, side of ball, stand in front of a team and take ownership of your action, but also pour in and build the confidence of what's next with those guys around you. I mean, that's a spark that's sometimes necessary. And so I think those guys they're really embracing that, and you see that it elevates guys that are around.
Following up on that, you mentioned leadership in your opening statement. What did you see from some of those guys during the lulls, and also were you happy with some of those responses from the leaders?
Yeah, I mean, I thought today was I thought there were some good responses throughout the course of practice, and you hear guys. I want to continue to see guys. Even there's some newcomers that in some aspects they're still even young guys that. I see the spark. I see the person, and it's a willingness to put themselves out there. But we've had tremendous leaders here that haven't been the most vocal people, but you felt their presence of work, and that's what I'm looking for, and it becomes contagious. I think Tatum Bethune was not the most vocal person, but when you were out on the practice field, when it was time to go, you felt him. And he was, his energy, approach, intensity, and like I think we've got guys that I absolutely know will speak, and guys that will challenge, and guys that will lift up. And we need that in this team. But it's also some guys that are coming along in their own right. That right now it's just the actions that are leading it. And I think we got great potential there.
All right, time for a couple more, Corey.
Well, on Saturday, will the scrimmage look and feel a lot like last Saturday, or are you trying to do something?
No, I'm probably gonna. I mean, we are limited, just with space. We have to go one direction, just with the indoors. I'm gonna have a plan in the fall, probably to be a little bit more game-like, as we get in those scrimmages. Just my preliminary thoughts of it. We'll see where we are once we get to it. But right now, like punting and doing some of the things that you would have throughout the course. I mean, it's probably going to be more similar to what it was last week. Situations, putting guys into it, try to get as much of a flow as possible. But that's kind of we are where we are.
Yeah, last one, Ira.
Early in spring, you guys talked about Javon Boggs and some of the other young receivers getting opportunities. And what have you seen from that group?
I think it's it's what we needed. Like you got a couple of young guys that have come in and have proven that they are ready to compete. And I think Javen, he's done really well. I mean, you see like there's still more. I mean, there's he's not a finished product right now, but you see the competition, you feel his presence. He's made some big plays here in first 8 practices. Today, there's one that I'm sure that he'd love to have back, just in a situation. But it's the growth, and I mean, I can see already he's not one that gets rattled. He's if he has a good play, bad play, whatever it is, he wants to get coached. He wants to go get better. Tayshawn Gelsey, very similar. I mean, I'm excited about a guy with his size and ability. I mean, what that's going to look like here, leading into August 30th. I'm very excited that he's here and pushing this group. Chase Lofton, another guy that's in early that I mean, he's going to be on the fast track. He's doing things that need to be done. It's a talented room, but I like what I'm seeing from him and just the impact. So just kind of talking about some of those young pass catchers. And it's good. I think Camden Fryer's a guy that's actually done some good things. Coming off an injury that we didn't know how much we'd get here early, but he's a competitor and he's out there fighting hard and been doing some good things. I know I mentioned Jalen Brown because all those guys are still young. Loane's been been out for a little bit and for just the injury. So but definitely all the things I've seen from him makes me very excited about Elijah Moore's come along. So I mean, I'm excited about where that group can go. It's just the consistency of going and getting it done.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Thank you.